Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is July 1st, 2025 and Barcelona are reporting record sales. Yes, record sales, and I'm gonna talk all about it. Also, change of plans in regards to Pablo Torre as two new clubs have entered the race and looking to steal the player away from Mallorca. And finally, Real Betis are right now the favorites to sign Pau Victor. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and as you know, yesterday, June 30th, was the official last day of the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Barcelona have ended the fiscal year. They've turned over their paperwork to La Liga. La Liga will review it and then decide Barcelona's salary cap. But since Barcelona have ended the fiscal year, now they know with more accuracy how much money they made, how much money they spent, etc., etc. They've already started releasing some of these numbers, and some of the first numbers that they've released is in regards to the Barca stores, because Barcelona have 15 stores. They opened the second one in Madrid last year. They have other 6 stores that are not theirs, but they're licensed by the club. And Barcelona have reported a 30% growth. 30% growth in the sale of Barcelona merchandise. So Barcelona are selling kits, Barca merchandise like hot bread. And in fact, and this is the big one, Barcelona have reported the highest revenue in the history of the club at the Spotify Camp Nou's store. You heard that correctly. The Spotify Camp Nou store has sold the most amount of merchandise in the history of the club. And this is why it's big, because the Camp Nou is closed. So despite the Camp Nou being closed, people are still going to that store, and they've recorded record sales in the history of the club. So you can only imagine what's that going to look like once the Camp Nou is open. Now, Barcelona saw 10 million visitors to their Barca stores. 2 million of those were at the Spotify Camp Nou store, and through their online platform, Barcelona have been able to sell merchandise to 171 countries. 171 countries that Barcelona have sold merchandise to, with the USA being the biggest purchaser out of all of them, which always boggles my mind, because there's no Barca store here. And it's like, guys, what are you doing? There's a PSG store in Manhattan on 5th Avenue. PSG. Who the fuck watches PSG? And Barcelona don't have a store here in the USA, whether it be New York, LA, whatever. But Barca, what are you doing? Open a store in the USA. You're going to be selling merchandise like crazy. Now, Barcelona have also announced the players who have sold the most kits. And number 1, of course, Lamine Yamal with his number 19 kit. Can you imagine when he gets the number 10? Oof, it's going to be record-breaking. Number 2, Robert Lewandowski. In number 3, we have both Pedri and Gabi tied for 3rd place. And then in 5th place, no, I didn't skip 4th when you have 2 people tied for 1 position. Rafinha in 5th place. So Lamine Yamal, Robert Lewandowski, Pedri and Gabi tied, and then Coutinho in 5th position. All right, on to the next bit of news, because change of plans with Pablo Torre, because Barcelona had reached an agreement with Mallorca for the transfer of Pablo Torre, where Mallorca were going to pay 5 million euros for the permanent transfer of Pablo Torre, and Barcelona were going to retain a 50% of any future sales and a 10 to 12 million euro buyback clause. And when it all seemed said and done, seemed that Pablo Torre was going to join Mallorca. In fact, he had already spoken to their coach. Their coach had told them how important he's going to be. And Pablo Torre thought that the Mallorca project was the most attractive one. And it all seemed said and done. And ladies and gentlemen, enter Ajax and Marseille, who have entered the race pretty late, and they're looking to hijack Pablo Torre away from Mallorca, specifically Ajax. It's reported that the Marseille offer, not very convincing for Pablo Torre, but the Ajax offer is. Why? because Ajax will be playing the Champions League. So Pablo Torre will have a chance to play the Champions League. So now Pablo Torre is considering all of his options. Now, of course, a move to Ajax could bring Barcelona more money than a move to Mallorca. But nonetheless, Barcelona have said, look, Pablo, we appreciate you, so you choose. We don't care, even if we make less money. It's completely up to you. You choose, you let us know, and then we'll figure out the rest. So we'll see who will Pablo Torre choose. If I was Pablo Torre, I would honestly choose Ajax. I mean, it's a lot more similar style of play to Barcelona. You get to play the Champions League. You get to change windmills in the Netherlands, collect tulips. It's a win-win. Anyways, on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a new suitor for Pau Victor. Now, Pau Victor will be looking to leave the club during this summer transfer market because he wants more minutes, and under Flick, unfortunately, he hasn't gotten many. And there were plenty of clubs interested in Pau Victor, just like Pablo Torre. For example, Sevilla, Getafe, Valencia, Mallorca, Celta, Osasuna, and even Oviedo. However, none of those clubs had made formal offers. It was just interest, calling the player. Hey, you interested? Calling the club. Hey, what's going on with Pau Victor? But enter Real Betis. Now, Real Betis seem to be the ones who are most interested in Pau Victor and could be in pole position to sign the Barcelona striker. And it's reported that Barcelona would want a similar deal like Pablo Torre, where they can offload Pau Victor for a permanent transfer amount. Plus, they would want to retain 50% of any future sales and a buyback clause in case Barcelona decide to bring him back later. Now, we'll see what both clubs end up negotiating. Well, first, we'll see if Pau Victor decides to go to Real Betis. But for now, just know that Real Betis are the ones pushing the most for the signing of the Barcelona attacker. Now, speaking of interest in players, it's reported that Manchester United are very keen on the signing of Mark ter Stegen. Now, it looks like Manchester United really want to get rid of Onana. I don't blame them. He's been an absolute disaster. And they're very interested in Mark ter Stegen. And in fact, they're probably the only club so far that has offered to pay a transfer fee for the German goalkeeper. Now, ter Stegen has a pretty high salary for a goalkeeper, so most clubs so far who have been interested in him have been interested in him on a free transfer, where Barcelona would rescind his contract. He would go to that club, and then they can afford to pay his salary because they don't have to pay a transfer fee. But Man United are not only willing to pay his salary, but they're also willing to pay Barcelona around 10 to 15 million euros on a transfer fee. They're also willing to accept a loan. They really are keen on signing Mark ter Stegen, but of course, for now, ter Stegen is not considering any offer. His position is, no one has told me that they want me out. The last thing I know, the club told me I'm the number one. So until someone talks to him, he's not changing his position. Of course, Flick is planning to talk to ter Stegen before the preseason. We'll see if that conversation changes his mind, but at least we know that ter Stegen does have options, and that, of course, does make it easier for Barcelona to get rid of him, because it's a lot harder to say, hey, you need to leave. Well, by the way, there's nobody interested in you, right? But at least Barcelona do have some option, or I should say Mark ter Stegen has some options in case he does decide to leave the club. Now, we will end today's video with the news that Nicolas Tagliafico has once again offered himself to Barcelona. Now, the 32-year-old left back is currently without a club after he spent last season with Lyon, and Lyon have now been relegated to Ligue 2. Wait, is it Andu? Yeah, Andu. Yeah, 2. To Ligue 2. And he has offered himself to Barcelona. And of course, like always, when there's an offering, I have to make it very, very clear. This is the player offering himself. This is not Barcelona considering signing him. This is not Barcelona planning to sign him. This is simply the player offering himself. And of course, well, Barcelona are not really interested. But just know that Tagliafico has offered his services. And again, this is just the player. That doesn't mean anything. I could technically offer myself to Barcelona. It doesn't mean Barcelona are going to sign me. Well, I hope not, because, I suck. But anyways, that is all the news for this video. I did upload another video a few moments ago. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, peace, Barca.